What is going on, Don't Unfriend Me Nation? Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Looks like we're 5x5 just about everywhere. Checking Wimkin right now. Looks like we are green going live. Gonna pop smoke on that. Give it 2 or 3 seconds here. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. A lot going on tonight. Not gonna lie. Whole bunch of stuff going on. Too much to list. We will cover it together, as always. Latest news, topics, all that type of stuff. Hope everyone's doing well with the hurricane. I hope friends are getting out of tough situations. I know the Muds, the moderators for the Don't Unfriend Me Show, pitched in for Maureen Flood, with no pun intended, who was suffering without power, and raised $700 for her last night amongst themselves, which was just awesome to see. And it's a great thing. We'll be together in about 3 minutes. No Olivia, no anyone else. It's just me. I'm solo. So if you want to call in, now is the time. Talk to you in a little bit.
What's up, everybody? It's Ryan Weaver. I am on the Don't Unfriend Me Show, otherwise known as the DUM Show, with host Matt Spear. You guys can find the show at The DUM Show on social media or thedumshow.com.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.
What is going on, Don't Unfriend Me Nation? Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. We are in the house. Olivia is off tonight, so are Amy and Leroy, both doing well. Olivia has had a long week and decided she should have some time with the kids. That's what's going on. However, she will be checking donations, which is always a nice thing. How's everybody doing? What's going on? Anybody have anything major to talk about? Please just put it in chat. And go ahead and put a Q in front of it. Lets me know that there's a question, and we can kind of go from there. Hold on a second. Nope. Hold on. Nope. Nope. second. All right, we'll take down that one. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Sorry, folks, I had to download something, and it's super bright, and I'm aware of that. Just hold on. Let me just import this into the thing, and you have my full attention. A little bit behind this evening. Had a lot going on, but we are getting there. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show. If it's your first time here, you have to fight. Fight Club rules. Let's see what's going on. No. Tonight's goal, $200. We hit it last night. Instead of doing a monthly goal, we're doing nightly goals. So if you are so inclined, want to help out, thedumshow.com/donate. We're 100% funded by you. We would appreciate it. We now have Venmo and PayPal, and it helps keep the show going. Thank you. I told you about Maureen Flood. She had some money that was given her by the Don't Unfriend Me moderators. It's something that we'll occasionally try to do and help people out. And it's an amazing thing. It's a community here. We try to go ahead and give back when we can. All the taxes were grossed up and paid on that for Maureen. And we love her to death. So if anyone else knows, if somebody needs help or anything else, we'll do whatever we can. Shirley, I'm glad things are going better for you. I see that people are saying that's good news. I saw your comment on Facebook, and I seriously, if you need anything, right now it says got my power and internet, got 6 past days to catch up on what's happening on this earth. Talk about being in the dark. Yeah, it's got to be hard. And I feel that way coming back from vacation, let alone being completely disconnected. Matt, did you know Canada is going through the same immigration problem? 2.5 million from India, illegal border crossing, and the Liberals bringing them in. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. We did a video earlier today about multiculturalism. And, I made some, in a 1-minute video, I wasn't able to make all the points that I wanted to. But the thing is this, is like Europe, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway, Eastern European countries, Western European countries are kind of like the beta test for the United States. And if things don't work well in Europe, it's not necessarily going to work well here. And if it also works well in Europe, it's not necessarily going to work well here. The United States is an extremely large place, and it's an amalgamation of different cultures, different beliefs, different ideologies. And with multiculturalism coming in and people bringing in these groups that are all divided and create these microcosms of cultures, we lose our identity in the process. And it's specifically not saying immigration or assimilation coming into our country or bringing in different cultures. That's actually the opposite. When people see multiculturalism, they think it's anti-immigration or anti-culture, which is stupid. It's not what it means. Multiculturalism is to bring in these different groups of people and create pockets of those cultures to influence other cultures. And this is what Europe has done. This is what Canada is doing. And it's a complete abysmal failure. Take a look at Sweden. Now, when you think of Sweden, what do you think? Blonde hair, blue-eyed people, using toboggans and the luge to get to work and eating cheese. That's the Swiss. Whatever. When you think of Sweden, you think of blue, you think of yellow, you think of Peter Forsberg, you think of some decent hockey players like Mats Sundin, and a peaceful country, right? But their entire country has been completely replaced. And the amount of immigration they've allowed into their country has essentially stripped their culture away from what it once was. And this is exactly the same thing that's happening in the United States. And it's not that we can't allow different cultures to come in. It's that there should be a demand to assimilate to being an American. Leroy has said this a million times. You can go to Japan and you're not Japanese and live in Japan. You can go to Canada, you're not a Canadian. You can go to Germany and not be German. But when you come to the United States and you live here, you're an American. And that's what is expected to happen. And we've moved away from that. And what the liberals and progressives are ultimately trying to do is make every single French fry taste the same across the world in order to build some sort of equity-based utopia where if we allow all different types of cultures to come in and replace white America, or in some cases black countries predominantly black, whether that be, in Kenya, or you want to talk about maybe Saudi Arabia, and they ultimately want to go ahead. There is no push for a lot of these countries in the Middle East, in Africa, in South America, that are replacing their entire cultures with white people. It's just not happening. And they're not. Thank you so much, Amy. And they're not replacing their entire cultures with black people. And they're not replacing their entire cultures with Asian. And the reason why is because these countries have said, we're going to hold on to our identity. We're going to hold on to who we are. But when you hear that from white people, it sounds like you're a white nationalist or a racist. Now, to me, there's nothing about me that needs to be proud of being white. I don't believe that requires any type of recognition from me or espousing that on a national stage. However, I should be able to go ahead and say that there are things that white people have done that other people haven't. I should be able to go ahead and recognize white inventors or white scientists or poets without being called a racist, because they lived in a time where ultimately their ideology and their time period goes against the narrative of today of what was acceptable and what isn't. If I ever quote Ulysses S. Grant or Alexander Hamilton, I'm not doing it because they were slave owners. And Ulysses S. Grant wasn't a slave owner in any way, shape, or form, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But so let's just say Alexander Hamilton or Thomas Jefferson, or if I want to talk about Edgar Allan Poe, or I want to go ahead and talk about Mozart, or I want to talk about Gandhi or Stephen Biko, whatever it is, their color or their religion, those things don't necessarily strike with me as something to celebrate. Like I would never say, oh, well, African, black, Stephen Biko wrote. No, I just say Stephen Biko. And then someone might say, well, who is he? And then I would say, well, South Africa against apartheid was illegally jailed. And, we can just talk about all these different things, and was a prolific writer and an amazing human being. But those descriptors are not decided upon the color of their skin. So when I see white people proud of white stuff, I don't consider that to be that they're proud of white pigmentation, or which is closer to pink anyway, speaking of Stephen Biko. But I think they're celebrating the success of the invention itself. So when we talk about Nikola Tesla, or we talk about Thomas Edison, and we talk that there is a struggle of who invented what, and that Edison predominantly stole multiple things, like I guess you would say even Steve Jobs did, you would have a question not based on the color of their skin, but on the quality of their work and their overall notes and their scientific theory. But if you want to put a black person involved, all of a sudden in today's age, it would be, well, that white guy stole that black guy's thing. It's always amazing how there's only one flow of racism or prejudice that takes place, and it's always projected on the white people. Now, people say, well, white people are the hierarchy. White people are in charge. White people are in power. Well, yes, that's true in some cases, but that's becoming less and less true. And when you have DEI and things to that effect, you have a different balance in overall cultural race and individuals. Now, is there a difference between a white person and a black person on an individual basis? Sure. Absolutely, there's a difference. First of all, there's an aesthetic difference just by the way we look. Okay, so let's talk about it. Is that a big deal? Does that change who a person is? No, it's the color of their skin. Who gives a shit? You can go ahead and put me down in Mexico for 2 weeks, and this white pasty guy, I've got Greek in me. I will tone up like a blink, and you should see some pictures of me when I was younger, and you would be surprised if I wasn't Mexican. So that means nothing, okay? Well, what about physique and build? Well, there's differences, but overall, nothing massive. Height isn't necessarily. And if you want to go to something that is genetic when it comes to what's down below, well, that's an urban legend, I guess, or maybe it's not. But either way, that's not going to change a person's character. Well, what about the ability to be prolific at sports, or be fast, or able to have a higher vertical jump? When you look at African American people compared to white people, this is absolutely true. There's nothing racist about it. And if you look at why those reasons are, well, you have to look at DNA, and you have to look at overall genealogy, and you have to look at hereditary genes. DNA is an amazing thing, and DNA has patterns and has information that's transferred along generations through the evolution of humans that ultimately will keep learned or potential life-saving information that can be coded to their DNA. And when you live in a place, ultimately, which is extremely hot, which is a place where you seek and maybe hunt at night or travel at night and not necessarily in the day because of the weather, where water is scarce, you're going to see few things that are going to change in the evolutionary cycle over hundreds of thousands of years, where people will adapt and have different genealogical structure and capabilities. And in Africa, where there is a massive need for, obviously, predators from all over the country, and some of the most vicious human hunting predators, but also a survival from a lack of water, a lack of vegetation, a lack of shelter. You have a people who are exposed to the sun, and ultimately the pigmentation over time had changed. There's more melanin in the body, and to adapt to the weather situation. Does that have anything to do with a person's character? No, nothing. Absolutely nothing. So now you have to go ahead and consider and say, okay, so is it wrong to say that African American people, pound for pound, on a cultural group scale, are more athletic than white people? I guess that depends. But all in all, you would have to assume, looking at all the major sports that predominantly are dominated by African American men, that that's true, but not in hockey. But see, that's the thing that I'm trying to say, is that that's not a cultural difference, or it is a cultural difference. Is that African Americans predominantly, hockey is a very expensive sport. And when you have a lot of the African American population, which do grow up in the inner city, things like basketball or baseball, stickball are more readily available. Where hockey is usually in a higher suburban neighborhood with more affluency. And is that wrong? Well, that's a whole nother conversation. But it can explain why overall hockey is not embraced by and honestly dominated by African American people. Is that wrong? So when we're talking about these things, there is this stigmatism that somehow what we're saying is racist. It just baffles me that we can't say things that are on our minds, or at least explore ideas, without being pegged as a sexist. I was pegged as a sexist the other night because I said, I think women look better with short hair. And in my eyes, they should have short hair. Polo is another one, a very affluent sport. It's a very expensive sport, and raising horses is absolutely expensive. So you can look at a lot of different mitigating factors that impact what's considered to be racial or genetics, when honestly it's cultural. So why this whole conversation? Well, it's pretty simple. Because what you have is the United States, who we talked about this in this video today, is that for the first time in U.S. history, there were more illegal immigrants that crossed the border than there were babies born. And this is a huge, huge problem. And the reason why is because if you want to take a look at the basis of America and what we were founded on, I understand that a lot of people may not like to hear this because they want to talk about the separation of church and state, but we were founded on Christian principle. Now, I can go through the Articles of Confederation. I can go look at I can bring you through the transcripts and manuscripts of all the founding fathers. And if you listen to the verbiage, it's based on Christian fundamentals. And everyone says, well, most of them were atheists. That's not true. That's a complete lie. In fact, it's something like 92% had a belief in some higher power, if not Christianity, some other form of religion. So to sit here and say that they were agnostic or they were atheists, it's not true. They removed forcing people to assimilate to a certain religion or belief. And the reason why is they did it with theological practices of the monarchy, which believed in hereditary rule based upon lineage. So direct lineage to Charlemagne, and saying, since you are a long descendant of this person, therefore you are of noble birth and can lead. That is, whether we like it or not, a certain type of religion has to be handled on that, because it is a faith-based situation, saying that if you're a descendant of Charlemagne, then therefore you have rights to rule the kingdom. That is a faith-based thing, because most of these people had no relation to Charlemagne or had no relation to ancient rulers and leaders, depending upon where they were going ahead and focusing it from. And this could be the princes in Saudi Arabia. This could be the crown in England. This could be Serbians, for God's sakes. Most of the royalty families were just capable enough to go ahead and breed into the country and sow their royal oats to take over these massive lands, and closing the lines of delineation between one country and another, and ultimately created this hierarchy of rule. Well, that is all faith-based too, because all of these people were supposed to be anointed by God, and that's what they were trying to avoid. They didn't want a system of government that was based on faith. They wanted a system of government that was based on the individual rights. And the federal government was designed from the Federalist Party, that believed that there needed to be more government, and the anti-federalist leaned on the side of individual rights and the people. And the pragmatic conclusion to this long debate of what form of government they wanted was a federal government that would never usurp the power from the states, but would, as a collective, represent the states to ensure safety and security and borders, and also to codify certain laws and rules that were voted upon by the states with a 2/3 majority. And other than that, the individual states' constitutions and states' laws would be predicated upon the elected representatives that were put into office. Fairly simple. So when we look at this country and we look at what's happening, you're seeing massive amounts of let's just face it, of children not being born, the highest number that we've seen. And it's terrifying, because the problem is that when the birth rate doesn't eclipse the death rate, you're ultimately, over a period of time, the gap between people living and dying is smaller than a person being born and growing to maturity and being a productive member of society. And I hope everyone understands what I mean by that. You have to look at the average age, and you have to look that life is guaranteed to no one. And a born life has to reach a certain age to maturity to be productive. And it's not just till 18 years old. Yeah, they can get a job at 18, but we're talking about reproducing, having a family, a single family unit that overall gives to the GDP and helps the towns and the municipalities and the cities become prolific, because they have an abundance of workers, taxpayers, and people making the society function. When you remove that from the equation and you introduce abortion, or you introduce LGBTQ lifestyle, where the opportunity of having a child is zero because adoption is the only choice, these type of things are ultimately going to lower the birth rate in the United States. And this is what you have. So the Democrats have seen this. They've seen that the U.S. is falling by the wayside, and like Japan and other countries, are not able to keep up with the overall mortality rate and the overall birth rate. So their idea is, instead of instilling family values, instead of instilling the values of the patriarch and the matriarch and the family, the nuclear family unit in all cultures, they've now created something that says you don't have to marry, you don't have to have kids, you don't have to be straight, you can abort your children. None of those, all those things are fine because we're just going to go ahead and allow illegal immigrants, anything just to come into our country unfettered, and we will replace the deficit of not having enough children. So when people ask, well, why would Democrats want open borders? This is why. Because not only do they ensure the vote, but they ensure to go ahead and push the lifestyle that they have, which is an alternative lifestyle to what Republicans believe in. This is what's happening to our country. And this is as plain as day, because if you want to see the model, just go look at Europe. Go look at Sweden. Look what's happened in England and France. These countries are unrecognizable. This isn't happening in the Middle East. The Middle East focus on secularism with based upon religion. They have a culture. They have a defined culture, whether it be the Sunnis or the Shias or the Muslims. They all have the Kurds. They all have a belief structure and a culture that aligns with the country that they declare. Now, you take a look at Israel, and Israel says that being Jewish isn't a religion, but it's actually a race of people, and it's based upon their religion. But the funny thing is if you look at Israel, people, like Nick Fuentes, who I will talk about tonight, which is interesting because I saw a really good debate with him, and I'll be honest with you, I understand people's allure to Nick Fuentes. It took me a bit, but I get it, and I think I know what he's doing. We'll talk about that, but I'm not going to defend Nick with some of the shit he says, but I know why he says it, and we'll talk about it. But you take a look at Israel, and you would think that it's some sort of homogenized culture, that it's just all Jews. Well, that's not true. In fact, it's the farthest thing from the truth. Christians, Orthodox, Muslims are in the higher cabinets of Israel in leadership positions. There's Christian churches there. And yes, you have Jews, you have Hasidic Jews, and you have people who despise Christians. But folks, you have to understand this is a culture of 3,000 years, and Christianity is in direct contention with a lot of these religions, at least from their viewpoint. So you're going to have animosity no matter where you go in the Middle East. I mean, you could sit here and say, well, Christians are spit on in Israel. Yeah, well, they're spit on in Saudi Arabia too, and they're spit on in Iraq, and so are Americans in all those countries. I mean, go to United Arab Emirates, go to Egypt. Let me know how you make out. My point is that we have this amazing opportunity to recognize that our country is being lost to multiculturalism, this DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. And people say, well, why is it a bad thing to go ahead and hire someone on the basis of their skin color? You just said it. Because if it was bad for people only to hire white people, then it's also bad for people to not hire white people and only hire black people. Now, this is the conundrum. And this is the thing that makes a really big issue, is because whites were kind of the ones at the top of the pyramid, and white males in particular. And up until, 65 years ago, white males were in charge of everything. And now that is slowly changing. But you have to ask the question, is this for some sort of equity and equality, or is it simply a changing of power? And what it looks like is a changing of power. The first and second wave of feminism received equality. The burning of bras, the equal pay, the sexual harassment in the workplace, the ability to vote. These things were achieved in the first and second wave of feminism. The third and fourth wave of feminism were all about expanding rights above males in third, and fourth wave was all about hating men. So now you have a situation. If it's wrong for men to treat women like second-class citizens, why is it okay for women to treat men like second-class citizens? And the answer that you get is, well, because you were in charge for so long, you're due. Well, that doesn't make much sense, does it? So you have to say the same thing when it comes to DEI. If it wasn't okay for whites to only hire whites and choose it based upon their skin, then it's not okay for people to only hire blacks and say you can't hire whites. And the interesting argument that you get from liberals, always the same, is, oh, you poor, oppressed white person. And you're like, okay, now you're fucking being juvenile. You're being a petulant turd. Because
I had nothing to do with slavery. I had nothing to do with sexism in the workplace. I wasn't there during suffrage. Give me a break. But because I'm white, I inherit the sins of the color of my skin and not my culture. Because the culture of this country and the culture of white people, listen, as long as we have been a country, we have spent more time fighting slavery, fighting racism, fighting segregation, fighting the separation of people based upon the color and not their merit than we have doing those things.
So I can understand why people go, all right, well, 400 years for slavery, that's a horrible thing. Well, we were the second fastest country to understand. It took England 1,800 years to figure it out. It took us, what, 200? So I understand when people say white people were in charge and men are sexist. Those things are just as racist and just as sexist as throwing slurs on black people or degrading women based upon the way that they pee sitting down. It's just one is acceptable and one is not, because one is deemed altruistic and the other one is laced with the moniker of the aforementioned racist or sexist. But when you have what is racism, but commonly known as reverse racism, you hear the adage, well, black people can't be racist because they're not in power. That shit ended with Barack Obama, okay? That ended with him. Tuner, call in, dude, because I want to talk to you about this guy. So I want people to understand, when we have a conversation and we talk about things, you should never be afraid to talk about what white people have done in this country. If black people have a predisposition for athletics or a predisposition to be extremely strong at, in my opinion, tenacity and drive and passion to be successful, those are behaviors that are learned. Thank you, Kevin. Those are behaviors that are learned. They're not necessarily inherent when it comes to a drive, a passion, self-reliance, a lack of victimhood. Because I don't, if anyone asks me the question, do you think that black people have victimhood? I think there are very few that do. Most African-American, most black Americans that I talk to are passionate, driven, extremely dedicated people who I would go to war with any day of the week. And when you want to take a look at white people, you might say that they're maybe more organized, or they have an ability to be more innovative. Well, those things are true, but it's not the norm. And it's when you start talking in absolutes and you start saying all black people are athletic, all black people can run faster than white people. Well, now you're making an overall stereotype on an entire culture of people when it might not be true. That is where we get into trouble. I think people should talk about white people. I think they should talk about what white people have accomplished. And you better understand, when you want to talk about cowboys, that you talk about Bill Pickett. It's not just about John Wayne or it's not just about Jeff Steer, or it's not just about whatever. You've got to have a conversation about, if you want to talk about cowboys, well, then you better talk about the Irish cowboys. You better talk about everybody, because there is a history there that has been contributed by multiple races and colors of people, by all demographics. And if you are a true purveyor of knowledge, then you want that. Not because we have to go ahead and celebrate somebody's skin color who happened to be a cowboy, because that's the dumbest fucking thing. We do that in Black History Month. Why does Black History Month have to be a month? Why do we have to celebrate LGBTQ? Why do we have to have 96 different days to celebrate the LGBTQ spectrum? How insecure is that? I remember when the holidays were based upon significant things in history, theological beliefs, recognizing our independence, recognizing the celebration of Christ, the Hallows Eve, Thanksgiving, 4th of July, New Year's.
Now there's a holiday every fucking day. My kids are off from school for Yom Kippur. Why? Why are they off of school for? They're not Jewish. Now, according to some people, I guess the Jews believe because my grandmother was Jewish, therefore I'm Jewish. And that's basically, we understand. We had the Groypers saying that, and they tried to call me Jewish. And I'm like, dude, I'm the farthest thing from religious. I couldn't be Jewish. It's too fucking complicated. It's like being a Catholic. I can't remember all that stuff. But all these celebrations, because people are insecure and need some sort of verification or need some sort of accolades to define their existence. Why? Why? So this is it, okay? And this is what it comes down to. Our country is losing the culture, not white culture, not black culture, the red, white, and blue culture. We're forgetting what our country was founded on. And we understand that there are lessons from the past that we could continue to work on in the future. But to sit here and say that the United States hasn't done more good for the world than it's done bad, people are ignorant. And that's where these conversations need to take place. When I have conversations with black people, or I have conversations with Jews, or I have conversations with Orthodox or Hispanic or South Korean, I don't care, whatever it is. Very rarely do these conversations, when I bring up something that was created in history, that they have to go ahead and do tit for tat and give me a South Korean person or a Mexican person who did the same thing. Why do we do that in every other form of life? I've never sat around the fire with a bunch of friends who in Houston, some were Cuban, some were Puerto Rican. We had black friends. We had Japanese and Chinese friends. I mean, it literally looked like a DEI commercial at American Eagle. When we would talk about things, we'd talk about the military, or we would talk about independence, or talk about something that was going on in our neighborhood. Very rarely did it ever break down to the minutia of skin color or religion. It was always, hey, did you hear what Bob did? Oh, what a dipshit. Well, what a dumb Irish dipshit. You don't hear that. But there's a precursor in society that somehow we have to dignify the basis of someone's sexuality, the color of their skin, their religious beliefs, in order to validate them depending upon the network we're on. Why is that okay? Multiculturalism, it is absolutely a curse to our country. It's a curse, and it's a sickness. And thank God that it's starting to die out. DEI is failing on massive levels. But once again, if you wanted to figure out whether DEI was good enough for the United States, all you had to do is look at Europe. All you had to look at the Scandinavian countries. That is the litmus test if it will work in the United States. And if it doesn't work in Europe, it's not going to work here. That's just the way it is. Our country is too diverse. It's an amalgamation of different cultures and beliefs and races and sexuality and income level and opportunity, and honestly, the level of intelligence, the disparities. People want to talk about physical aptitude or health. Some people are fat, some people are skinny, some people are short. Listen, the biggest disparity in our country, hands down, has nothing to do with skin color. It has nothing to do with income. It has nothing to do with riches. It has nothing to do with overall belief in a higher power. It has to do with dumb and smart people. There is a deficit. There is a plague of morons in this country, of uneducated people who talk about shit that they do not know and believe because all of a sudden a hurricane happens and they watch Fox News for 5 minutes that they understand hurricanes. Or that they understand what FEMA can and can't do. Now, there's nothing wrong with questioning FEMA, but you better have studied the subject and you better understand the good, the bad, and the ugly before you start saying things. Last night, we talked about FEMA and Red Cross, how donations are collected from all sources, and your intent to give that money to a certain area is not how it works. We talked about the redistribution of their overall budget and to the HPA Act and the housing of immigrants has been almost $1 billion. FEMA has a budget that is well within the confines of handling hurricanes. We have not had a plethora of hurricanes this year. There is no reason for them to be broke. The only reason they're broke is because they've absolutely all over the country with these sanctuary cities have purchased hotels, purchased domiciles, multi-dwelling units to house illegal immigrants, and it's now federal property. They have spent an ungodly amount of money on housing illegals. This is a problem. But what you can't do is sit here and pretend that because you heard the word BlackRock, that all of a sudden this is the new world order and the Davos summit is coming to take over our country and the UN is going to, hold us hostage. And the United States is going to have habeas corpus suspended, that martial law is going to be declared, and blue helmets are going to be running our country. That is ridiculous. So if you're going to educate yourself and get into the fray, pace yourself. Learn small things. I've been doing this for 4 years. And most of the time when a major story comes out, like the 62% for the dock workers, I just saw the flash on my computer that they signed an interim agreement till January for 62%. And immediately people are like, oh, it's the election. Joe Biden did it. Or the other people go, oh, Democrats go, oh, well, Donald Trump lost control because he didn't have the money. And the money that he raised from the hurricane, he was supposed to give to the dock worker head leader, and it didn't happen. And you're like, just because you make shit up, and just because you play tic-tac-toe and try to draw lines of connect the dots and somehow it makes sense in your freaking dilapidated thought process, it doesn't make it true. The problem with this country is everyone thinks they're an expert in every topic. And before I come on and talk about something, I do my due diligence. I study it as best as I can. And if I don't know something, I say, you know what, I don't know. Or I'm not sure, or this is hypothetical, or this is a guess. There is an education problem in this country, and the numbers prove it. What is the one consistent thing in our country, whether it be the stock market, whether it be GNP or GDP, whether it be birth rate, whether it be poverty level? What is the one thing that has gone down in our government, in a government that has constantly gotten bigger, constantly gotten larger, and is expanding itself exponentially from 100 years ago? What is the one thing that has consistently failed in the United States government more than anything else? And the answer is education. Public education has been an utter failure. And it shows. We're the dumbest country on the planet. We're the dumbest civilized country on the planet. We're supposed to be a world leader, but we're not. We've got to do a better job of understanding ourselves. We've got to do a better job of listening to people and allowing them to have a thought process and at least demonstrating that we can tolerate their ignorance for a little bit, so we might have an opportunity to educate. The biggest failure in government by far is public education. Public education, if it was anything else, if it was 198, we're really close to 199,000. We're going to hit 200,000 here in the next week or two. But if there's anything else that you would rate the performance of public education and put it towards anything, every single person would be fired. Every single person would be replaced. But unions cause this. These teachers get tenure and they're protected and they don't deserve it. The problem with unions in the school system is that you take out meritocracy and you take this hierarchy society based upon how long you've been bad at your job warrants how hard it is to fire you. What a ridiculous notion. If I performed like teachers, I would have been fired from every job I had. If I performed like teachers on this podcast, I wouldn't have a podcast. I understand, but there's good teachers out there. Yeah, there are. There's also good prisoners out there. There's good convicts who've turned over a leaf. There's good people embezzling money from companies. There's good people who are on welfare who are milking the system.
There are teachers who are bad at what they do, who are predominantly milking the system and biding their time until they can retire and get their pension. That's it. This isn't a hard thing to figure out. The one common denominator is education. And do you think it's getting better with people coming over here who don't speak the language? Do you think it's getting better for people who don't understand our culture, that don't understand our laws, that don't understand the hardships and the trials and tribulations that we've got on, that we've experienced over the time that we've been a country? No. Because the people who come over here legally and go through the process and go through the assimilation process of becoming a citizen, understand the commitment they're making to become an American. But somebody who hops over the border and starts with it by breaking our laws or breaking into a house or raping somebody or dealing drugs or even just working illegally or stealing a social security number, do you think those people really are a benefit to our society? Do they deserve a chance to be an American? Sure they do. But do they get it just because they break the law? No. Why would you reward someone who is a criminal? Why? Since when do we reward people who break the law? The first thing you do coming across our country is you shit on it. I'm sorry. I have no empathy or sympathy for you. And I've known many undocumented workers in my life. But the undocumented workers who came over here that I worked with at my dad's golf course, I will tell you that those people were Americans in their head. And they didn't have the opportunity because they were either born in this country or they came over this country because they fled something and they didn't go through the normal processes. They were few and far between. Most people came over here on work visas or green cards. Now, it's not the same. There is no want and need for them to assimilate to U.S. culture because there is no more culture. The U.S. culture is racist. The flag is racist. All of our statues need to be torn down. We need to redefine who we are. We need to make special rules for people. We need to absolve ourselves from the sins of the past. We need to have white guilt and beg for the forgiveness of everyone because we're such horrible people. It is such bullshit. But when you constantly hear that your culture is the reason for the fall of society, that's not the reason for the fall of society. The fall of society is perpetuated by people of greed, for politicians who sold us out, who believe that balancing the budget is your responsibility and not theirs. Pay your bills. We don't have to pay ours. You go to work, but we don't have to work. You don't get an easy life, but we get the stock tips to go ahead and invest our money that's basically infallible. And we'll become multimillionaires on the work that we do. And you have to go ahead and carry the load. This is the mentality. The failure in our society is always government. And it's always been government. Because, folks, here's the truth. If you think government isn't responsible for all the fucking crap that's going on in this country, then why do people always rise up against it at its worst? Let me say it again. If government isn't responsible for the downturn of society inside the United States and other countries, then why do people always revolt against it if they're not the ones culpable? It's not a difficult thing to understand. Is government responsible for everything? No. But government in this day and age wants to be involved in everything. And there are times where the United States government should not be involved. The private sector is, okay, let me give you this example, and then we'll move on to some topics, okay? And I'm not trying to be too preachy tonight. I'm just trying to have a real conversation. Anybody can call in if you want to. Our phone lines are open. I'm sorry. I didn't have them open. 804-212-2208. Folks, if you like the show,
you can go to thedumshow.com/donate, and you might see that ticker down there. We're trying to raise $200 per show. We break that down, and we go ahead and we put that into the month, let you know at the end of the month where we're at. This pays for the lights, it pays for the streaming service, pays for the software, the cameras, and everything else. All of it is based upon the viewers, and we do that because Facebook took 90% of our revenue. So if you have not had a chance, please, we love to hit that goal. It helps us. We've put a goal that's a lot easier to digest than a monthly goal, and we think it's been doing really well. So if you have the ability, please help us out. Phone number is up, if anybody wanted to call in. The thing that I wanted to kind of just preface with this whole conversation tonight, okay, is that when we're talking about government, when we're talking about the people, there are a very specific set of rules that the government is supposed to follow. Those rules have been thrown to the wayside. They are no longer accountable to the people. They're accountable to the highest bidder. And they are bought and they are paid for. Now, are we responsible for making our local government better because that impacts us more than the federal government? Absolutely. If you're not running for council, if you're not running for city council, if you're not running for county clerk, if you're not running for sheriff, if you're not running for state legislature, then you need to be doing something. This is mine. This is my cross to bear, is that my job, as small or large as it may be, and the podcast is doing great, which is great news. And we're getting out on Wimkin. We're getting out on other channels, but not as much as we want to because we know what's happening. Every conservative out there has been throttled to a point where they can't grow. And the audience that they had, they're dropping like flies and getting banned. This is why the bigs are all leaving YouTube. They've left Facebook. And now it's hard to get found out on Rumble. It's hard to get found out on other channels. But no matter what the audience says, this is my penance, is to talk about the Constitution, is to talk about the Bill of Rights, is to talk about what our country was designed to do and not what it wasn't, to help put things in perspective and bring it back to the common denominator, which is the individual in this republic, because that's what makes us different than an oligarchy. It's what makes us different than a theocratic rule. It's what removes us from tyranny and a dictatorship and a democracy, is recognizing that the individual right is paramount. And the minority voice, no matter how small in any situation, always needs to have a platform. Whether it's a state like Wyoming, or whether it's a representative from there, or it's a constituent from Rhode Island, every single voice needs to be heard. And the only way you do that is by having representation that actually cares about the constituents and represents their most prominent concerns in Washington. You're not represented in Washington. Otherwise, this strike never would have happened. You're not being represented in Washington, or otherwise the hurricane relief would have been learned the last 12 natural disasters that we've had that have all been a quagmire and fucked. Did we not learn anything from Maui? Did we not learn anything from Harvey? Did we not learn anything from the California fires? How come the government always fucks this up? Because the government is inefficient. If you want to go ahead and save people in North Carolina and Tennessee and Western Virginia right now, empower the civilians who are actually wanting to help. Oh, we can't fly drones in that area because it might bring down a chopper. What chopper? You can go look at the flight patterns and the IFFs on all squawking on military and civilian aircraft right now and look at the radar. And yesterday, there was hardly anything up in the air that wasn't civilian. I understand why you don't want civilians who are uncoordinated. But dude, when you are literally day 6, day 7 in and people are out of water, people are going to die. At this point, organization and coordination, fuck it. Give them a handheld and put them up in the air and save as many people as you can. Because at this point, control isn't what this is about. It's the lack of control that's so concerning. Because if it was your mother, what would you do? Ask these people, ask FEMA, what if it was your mom up there? Would you be sitting here worried about where a pallet of water is going to go? Would you be worried about that it's possible that two drones might collide or a drone could take out a chopper? Yeah, well, that's what happens in search and rescue. It's dangerous and people understand the risk. Let them loose. Put them out in the lower concentrated areas. Get the homes where a one-off bringing a crew or putting some sort of SH-60 up there and fueling it that's going to cost $40,000 isn't conducive to the bigger work that you can do in the densely populated areas. Then just put them on the outskirts. Draw a line around the epicenter of where you're searching and let them hit the outskirts. They're civilians. They're volunteers. Putting restraints on people and saying that you're here to help and you can't help is ridiculous. Yes, there needs to be a central command. Yes, there needs to be organization. Yes, there needs to be coordinated efforts. But you're not hitting all those targets at once. That's not the way search and rescue works. They start in a pin in the map and they work their way out. That's what happens. And they have a propensity to go for the places that are the most densely populated. But the people on the outskirts who have no chance of getting out could be helped by civilians. But this is where the government has an issue, because instead of working with these institutions that are like Team Rubicon or the Cajun Navy and leveraging these people and saying, listen, if there's a major event, here's how we're going to leverage you. We're going to bring you in at 36-hour mark when things get the most dire. And here are the quadrants of where we believe you'll be the most effective outside of our search radius. Here's the things you can do. Here's the things you can't do. What do you need from us to make? You leverage. Because in a crucial matter of time, who gives a fuck if money goes to the right place? Just get the money distributed. Get generators, drop pallets of water, drop handhelds, whatever it takes. Drop radios with batteries so people can get information. But we are the United States government. We can literally drop pallets in war zones, hundreds of thousands of tons of water and aid into Gaza. And we can't help people in North Carolina? Oh, well, Matt, there's 4,000 people on the ground. Fuck 4,000. Let's get 40,000. These people have limited amount of time, and the stories are starting to come out, and the death toll is rising. And you know what's funny is we'll never see the report on the people who died posthumously from the hurricane, from exposure, or from dehydration, or from dysentery, or chronic bowel disease from drinking fucking Giardia-laced water that's completely trashed and putrid water because they had nothing else. These are the stories you won't hear because the testament of these people can only be eulogized in a seance. We have to do better. Matt, may I say that this is the best answer to a question I have ever had and is very much appreciated. What question did I don't even know. I blacked out. What did I just say? Reading some comments. Did you see Hung Cow debate Tim Kaine last night? According to the news, he crushed Kaine. Yeah, I want to get Hung on. I'm going to reach out to him. I'll get him on. I got to get him on. See, it's not that they don't care. People are like, well, FEMA doesn't care. That's not true. I think they do care. But they are so interested in power and keeping their budget and control that it makes them seem barbaric and monstrous. I have seen people who have been waiting on a corner in Hurricane Harvey, 20 feet of water, that are on a building And because that vessel wasn't certified by FEMA or wasn't an authorized military or civilian vessel that was signed off on, they wouldn't let people go get them. 20 people on top of a building, and they would not let those people go. And these guys finally said, fuck it. And he pulled a gun on FEMA. And he said, I'm going to go get those people or I'm going to fucking kill you. Hurricane Harvey had some amazing stories. They wanted to come into our neighborhood. And we lived in a community that had a U, and it was a prestigious community. And this reservoir was going to overflow, they wanted to come in and talk to victims, people who had lost their homes, people that had flooded in the area. And the news crews came in. Our community put trucks in the fucking way and had ARs and said, you're not coming into our community. You're not going to exploit the people here in this community. It's no joke, man. Hold on a second. So, sorry, you sound beautiful on the piano. It's coming into the show. Thank you. So, you have situations where, you have people standing up and saying, enough. These are my neighbors. And I'm sorry. Listen, I have been involved in multiple natural disasters, whether it be overseas and supporting in Haiti off a ship, or in Japan, or in California wildfires, or Hurricane Harvey, or the wildfire that happened in Deckers, Colorado, that we had to flee from. I will take neighbors helping neighbors over FEMA and Red Cross any day of the week. You will never be more well-fed and protected than from your neighbor, because they care about your self-interest, because their life is synonymous with your life. I already said why FEMA was broke. FEMA's broke because they diverted the money to housing illegal immigrants in sanctuary cities. But this is what the government does. They pass a bill. This is what pork barrel politics is. They put a certain amount of money in each proposal. This is what pork barrel is. And then they take money and re-divert it to different programs without your approval. This is the problem with government. They couldn't even plan their own funeral. Government, this is why when people are like, they stole the election, I'm like, you don't know the federal government. You don't know how bad they are at this shit. The federal government is ineffective. We had ships in the military that ran out of toilet paper. Toilet paper on a ship. Do you know how messy that is? Yeah, Robin Nesbitt says, and this is true, 82nd Airborne in North Carolina requested to be allowed to go help search and rescue and was told no. Why? Because they may be sent to the Middle East. That's right. They had a stand-down order. That's absolutely correct. It's 100% right. This is what happens. Government is ineffective because the government doesn't lead with compassion. They lead with policy and guidelines. There's no instinct. There's no gut instinct. Everything has to be done cut and dry with systematic orders. All right. Matt, want me to call in and give you some updates, which include FEMA and the red tape? Let me get to a couple things, Melanie, and then yes. Glenn, how'd your surgery go? Hey, Mel, there are a few law enforcement threatening to arrest private helos from landing and doing rescues. That's fucked. Yeah. Well, that's what I just told you. They did it in Harvey, too. People would take their fishing vessels. They just had tinners with a little, 120 engine. That was it. And they were out there. And they were saving lives. And FEMA wouldn't let them go out. And they were threatening them. And one of the guys pulled a gun. He said, those are my neighbors for 40 years. I'm going to fucking shoot you where you stand. And I'm going to go get them. Fuck, I'd do the same thing. I don't even know what happened to that guy. He's probably in jail. But this is the problem, is that the government gets their own way and they don't leverage the private citizens. Neighbors helping neighbors it's what we do. We know how to do it better than they do. We know how to take care of each other. Relying on the government is always one of the biggest fallacies. They're not going to be there for you. Right. But some cities don't have any neighbors. But do you understand that the neighbors are the county over? Or the state over? You understand what Ron DeSantis said, Eileen? Ron DeSantis was called by Biden and said, I want to send you National Guard and money. And he said, send them to North Carolina. That's a neighbor helping a neighbor. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about local businesses that aren't flooded. Do you know that we saved more people in Harvey than the fucking Red Cross and FEMA ever could? Team Rubicon was out there. The Cajun Navy was out there. Do you know the Cajun Navy kind of started in Harvey and came from Louisiana? And they brought thousands of boats and just went out and saved people. That's the neighbor I'm talking about. See, when we say neighbor, we go, okay, well, my small town or the person right next to me. Okay, that's those people are in harm's way. All right, let's go to the town over. Okay, or the subdivision over. Okay, that it's not a subdivision. It's literally 5 acres away. All right, let's go to the town. Okay, not the town. Let's go to the city. Okay, can't go to the city. Let's go to the district. Can't go to the district. Let's go to the county. Can't go to the county. Let's go to this half of the state. Can't do the half of the state. Then let's go to that half of the state. Can't do that half of the state. Let's go out of state. But eventually you're going to get to a spot where neighbors will help neighbors. This is why the 10th Amendment is so important, because the states have been doing this our whole lives. The states are always the first ones to react. The local EMTs and medical, the local hazmat, the local emergency responders, they are always the first to help. They're always the first to help. This is my point. And when you cut that off and you try to control it, and it's like, hey, the feds are here, they create more harm than good because they try to control everything and they're constantly reactive. They're not proactive. But small groups of civilians working in conjunction to systematically help people, those people are proactive. But in an emergency situation, reactive is death. You're always putting out fires versus preventing the fires from starting. That's when you need to leverage the civilian populace. And if FEMA needs to learn anything, and the next FEMA director, it's how to leverage the civilian assets before you even fucking put in federal assets. That's my point. Matt, today lefties were trying to push that FEMA is broke because Republicans voted against the bill. Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Yeah, Patricia, I don't even need to ask you a question. See, Republicans voted against it because they were taking provisions of the bill and subsidizing it into immigration and housing for illegal immigrants. And Republicans are like, no, we're not increasing you again. It's the same thing we did for the VA. I broke it down for the VA, how the VA is one of the most wasteful fucking programs in the Defense Department, in the DOD, DOJ. And their budget has been constantly annualized and bumped up. I mean, it's like 2,000% increase over the last 10 years. And by this time, by 2030, it's going to be something, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, $500 billion for the VA? When we're not increasing recruiting efforts, when there are no major conflicts anymore, where people are going to need the VA, where it's starting to wind down and the amount of disabled veterans and the people who need it are actually winding down because of World War II drop-off, Vietnam drop-off, Korea drop-off. And yes, there's going to be a whole new breed of people coming in with OEF, OIF, and SHIELD and STORM and Afghanistan and Operation Enduring Freedom. I get it, but it's not even close to the numbers that we had in Vietnam, World War II, World War I, Korea. So Republicans said, no, we're not going to annualize your budget. You got a fucking $120 million increase during COVID. We're not doing it again. Because why are people shocked when conservatives say, we're sick of wasting money?
So what do? They hold hostage, military raises or border money or infrastructure dollars, and they hold it hostage and say, if you don't allow this, we're not going to pass this budget. And then Republicans have to sign off on it. We got to take a stand somewhere. If we hit the 50 trillion mark, this country's going off the shelf. It's done. It's done. News was short on the Mike Pillow electric. Huh? Oh, yeah, I saw that. Is this the woman that turned off the cameras and stole public information? Yeah. Enjoy jail, lady. Enjoy jail. She was trying to expose the stolen election. FEMA camp is 8 miles set up away from Asheville. Nobody can get there. Yeah. You should be sending up signal flares at night. You should be sending out radio signals. You should have chopper flyovers. You should be dropping water and food in random areas. You should have dogs out there. You should have parties of people. I mean, it just... I know. I saw that with Pete Buttigieg. What's going on, Ozzy? I'm just reading. Yeah, Patricia, it's a beautiful story. I'm going to put it up so people can read it. And I'm sorry about your son-in-law. Yeah, Thomas, you're right. Administration had over $400 million for Gaza in June, $300 million for them again Monday. I guess they forgot the U.S. citizen. Shit, we just gave $8 billion to Ukraine. I love the VA, but they're not very efficient. Well, that's right. And I don't love the VA because they're not efficient. I remember what they did to Friends. Fuck the VA. Sorry. I'm not happy with the VA. I'm not happy with what they did. And I'm sorry. I'm not a fan. For donations and details about the show, thank you, Thomas. Yeah. I had this video of this lady who was on, and she was on the news, and she was telling her story about how her son was washed away. And I fucking couldn't handle it. That's why I was late tonight. I just started crying. And I'm not one of those guys. You know that. I sit there and cry and blubber for no reason. But it tore me up. I thought about my own kids. Folks, thedumshow.com/donate. We are completely funded by you. We have now been in the 6 months where we've hit goal by donation to keep the show going, to keep the show free. If you like the show, you like the information you get, you think, yeah, Matt sometimes cusses too much and he's kind of arrogant and a little standoffish. Well, tough shit. We appreciate you. We're not going anywhere. So we would appreciate it if you have the ability. And listen, you've donated to your local cause, Team Rubicon, maybe a veterans group. You've got Christmas or birthdays or whatever on lockdown. Everything's okay. You got a little extra. We would appreciate some help by keeping this show free. We ask for $200 a show. We're on here for 2 hours, sometimes 3, often 3. It's not a lot considering our time and what we do. We would appreciate if you could help out. Certainly not begging. We're asking because this is a service. It's something that we like to do and we will continue to do. If we can have your help, we would appreciate you. Thanks for thinking about us. I know I'm not as pretty as Olivia, but let's just... Okay. Let's get into some of the things we're going to talk about. Where are your partners in crime? Amy's off. She was here last night. Leroy it's chief season again. And now instead of going through it as a new chief, he has to institute the chief process. He's been super busy. And Olivia got a night off tonight because she has had a hell of a week with losing her job and all of that stuff. So I'm running solo. Yeah. So appreciate it. Here's an interesting video that I saw that I figured I would bring on for you. I'm going to have to change my screen, I think. Yep. This is a video that I saw which always just shapes my hide. This is Kyiv and Asheville. And let's take a look. Why do they put music on everything? No, we don't need fucking music. We can listen, we can watch it without music. Our attention span doesn't need to be that short. Folks, this is what's killing me. Is I make my videos, I'm having to do 1 minute videos now because people's attention span is too small. Folks, you got to learn how to sit and be patient and just watch. It's like my kids with a movie. I'm like, just watch. Let the characters build up. Let the story happen. There's going to be a crescendo. Hang tight. The same thing with me. When I'm doing one of my shows, there's always going to be a point to it. It's most often going to make sense. You gotta let it build a little bit. We don't need music to distract us. Just play the damn thing. So now I got to put it on silent. This is Kyiv. This is Ukraine. Does it look like a war zone to you? And this is Asheville. Thanks, Mary Jo. She's doing just fine, though. Thank you for asking. Look at this shit. I understand that Ukraine was invaded by Russia, okay? And I want Ukraine to be freed, whatever. I don't care. I really don't give a shit. I spent a lot of time working counterintelligence against Russia. I spent a lot of time in that AOR and that theater. I've been to most of those countries, and I don't give a rat's ass. I just don't care. Let Europe handle Europe. We should have the greatest state-of-the-art technology at the state's disposal. FEMA should be calling and saying, how do we help the state? Where do you need us? Not let us run it. Give me a break on this. $150 billion to Ukraine. Why? Why? All right. I want to talk about something, and this one's been in my craw. Hold on, I got to switch this window. Okay. Everyone knows how I feel about Nick Fuentes. Everyone knows that I have no problem with Israel, and for full disclosure, I'm not a Jew. Okay? Not Jewish. Do I look Jewish? That's funny. She doesn't look Jewish. I'm not a Jew. My grandmother, according to the Groypers and according to Jewish doctrine in the Talmud, is that I am a Jew because she's a Jew. So I'm a non-practicing Jew. I eat pork like a mother humper. I don't believe in kosher salt. I don't wear funny shit on the back of my head. And when I light a candle, it's a single candle, not multiple. Okay? I've never spun a dreidel. I've never had a potato pancake. Okay? I don't know any of that shit. What I do know is that I have absolutely no problems with Jews. Just like I don't have any problem with Orthodox. I don't have a problem with Christians. I don't have a problem with Mormons. I don't care what you believe. That's your business. But I happen to have experience with Israel, the Jewish people, Mossad, IDF, and I can tell you that this whole nefarious bullshit, if you believe that Jews are the root of all evil, okay, fine, make that argument. But then I want you to go listen to the arguments they make about the USS Liberty and the Rothschilds and 9/11 and the dancing Jews and all this other bullshit. The Holocaust isn't real. And I want you to try to disprove one of their things. Just one. And if you can disprove one thing, then they're a liar. And if they're lying about one thing, what else are they lying about? And this is why these fuckers won't debate me. Because they want to talk about the Bible and they want to talk about, they want to talk about religious doctrine. They want to talk about empirical evidence about why their religion is right and that Jesus was just a prophet or he was crucified or wasn't crucified. They want to talk about, history that they weren't there for, and they have no idea because they only have one side of history. And the side is their confirmation bias to hate Jews. All right? But the moment that you can prove one thing that they say as a lie, you're done. Because if you're smart enough, like some of these people are, to debate and to read and study and become fairly prolific on a subject, then you're smart enough to know if it's true or not. And if you're pushing disinformation and you're pushing lies, then your credibility is shit.
How do you know that these people aren't being honest? Because they don't say the word I don't know. But I am going to tell you that I have for the last week forced myself to watch Nick Fuentes. Because I really wanted to try to understand Nick. Because I've always said Nick is a very smart guy. And the Groypers that I've talked to, Beardson and whatever the other fucko was, they're intelligent. They like to espouse that we're men. But, I mean, Beardson was kind of a fucking, I don't know, he seemed like somebody who might have Tourette's or something. But he was just, ADHD and kind of emasculated. But whatever. Smart guy. And I have no problem with what they think. And if they want to think the Holocaust is fake, great. If they want to believe that Hitler was a good dude, okay, that's great. But you better be able to prove that. And if you can't prove that, and you have to lie and make shit up, then your entire premise is bunk. So when I watched Nick Fuentes, it was really weird. I fucking hated him when I first saw him. I couldn't stand this guy because he reminded me of every other Jew hater. He was just obnoxious. He likes to go ahead and pretend that he's a man. He's a little soy boy, And even Tate was on his channel, and Tate's like no shirt on, bald, and fucking, yoked to shit. And he's like, oh, I'm a real man, And I'm like, well, Nick Fuentes he's nothing compared to Tate, But the only reason why Tate likes him is because he agrees with him. So what they do that I hate is that they will agree with Nick Fuentes whether he's wrong or if he's right. And if he's right, they just fucking go off. Oh, God, he cooked him. He cooked him. Nick Fuentes cooked this guy. Just cooked him. And there are times when he does cook people, and it's hilarious. But when he does, maybe not lose the debate, but there are very poignant comments that shut him down. You know what they say? Then they start attacking the person's character and how, oh, well, Nick's just fucking with him. Nick didn't lose. He walked into that knowing. When you do that, you're basically saying that this person can never be wrong. And now you've assigned some sort of deity status to a human being. When my listeners do that, I get frustrated. When you guys are like, oh, Matt's always right. But I'm not always right. I may be right on what I report, and I might report factual things. But if I wanted to start diving into the rabbit hole and making shit up, I'd be wrong all the time, just like a lot of people are. I won't do that, which is why I'm right most of the time. But in a debate, I've been wrong before. I've been wrong a lot. Because when you get in there, you get emotionally charged. And you might say something that's dumb. Like, for instance, I'm friends with school shooters. Do you think Tim Walz really wanted to say that? Fuck no, he didn't want to say that. He made a mistake. He got flustered. It happens to the best of us. But instead of saying that, we want to try to cover it up. And what I hate about the Groypers is that Nick can do no wrong. Nick is perfect. And Nick isn't perfect. So I started watching him. And I said, I want to try to understand I just read a comment about George Soros. So it threw me off. Okay, I'm off. All right. So I started watching him, and I had the intent of, Matt, sit here and don't judge his ass. Just listen to what he has to say. Nick's a smart fucking dude. Now, he's subjectively smart. Because if you don't agree with what he's saying, he sounds like an idiot. So you have to stop trying to agree with what he says and listen to his points that are correct, that are based, and ignore the rest. And it's almost like a crib key. It's it's almost like a prophetic person who's insane. Is when they start talking about the Fisher King and the quest for the Holy Grail, you kind of got to ignore them. But when they start talking about quantum mechanics and shit, you might want to listen to them because they may make some sense. That is kind of Nick Fuentes. Now, do I like him? No, because I think he says things that are really stupid that are stopping him from being a voice to the right people who should listen to him. I want you to listen to this, and I want you to just have an open mind. And in this whole thing, there is this soy boy liberal who my daughter followed, who looks like Tom Holland with a haircut and no muscles. And he is supposedly a debater. I would love to take this kid apart. Nick starts screwing with him. So I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to set you up and tell you what you're going to hear so you don't get upset. The question to Nick is, who would you rather have run the country, Hitler or your wife? Well, first of all, Nick Fuentes is a virgin. He's not married. He doesn't believe in having sex until married. He's a Catholic, is what he says. And he describes himself as asexual, which is kind of funny. But an incel, which is basically a person who can't get sex, essentially. Now, this question is a trap. Let me give you an example. Debbie, Nick is very immature in ways. It's not in ways. He's very immature. You're absolutely right. And I'm going to explain the video because I think I understand him more than I have. And he still pisses me off beyond reproach. And I just want to slap him sometimes. But there are things that he says in the nuggets of being completely fucking off base in his comments. Like in any civilized society, you just don't say that shit. He doesn't care. He says it to garner a cathartic reaction. And he doesn't even believe it. See, the thing about Nick Fuentes is he's fighting for what people call white nationalism. He's half Mexican. And most of these guys who are fighting for this are not white. And the whole point of this is how I started this conversation, is that if I would have said that 45 minutes of talking about multiculturalism, and then I would have said, and Jews betrayed Jesus and the Holocaust didn't happen, which I did not say, but if I did, it would negate all of the things that I said in between it that were actually memorable and on point and based. Do you know what I'm saying? So what Nick does is he goes ahead and he says some really poignant shit, and he brackets it with horrible, stupid comments that detract from what he's trying to say. But that's not what he's doing. I finally figured it out. He's doing it for humor. He's trying to sound so unbelievably stupid because the question is unbelievably stupid. So when somebody asks him, would you rather have your wife or Hitler? It's kind of like when your new girlfriend, you were laying in bed after doing the mattress. Thank you, Thomas. I was a little worried tonight. Woof. Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate you, buddy. $68.45 where we're at with our goal. We've got $132, $131.55 to go to hit our goal. Come on, folks. We're only got 30 minutes left. Help out, please. Thank you. Thank God. There we go. Bobby Richardson. Boom. We are $79.54 away. So we're getting there. Thank you, everybody. All right. So I'm going to show you this video. And I want you to relax, but I want you to do me a favor. I don't want you to think about Nick Fuentes. I don't want you to think about Jews. I don't want you to think about him and white nationalists. I just want you to listen to how stupid the fucking question is and how he responds, and realize that all he's doing is trolling this kid because it's a trap. Let me give you an example, okay? Would you rather have your wife or Hitler lead the country? If he says wife, he looks hypocritical because he believes women shouldn't be in charge, and he's not married. And if he says Hitler, well, then he confirms that he hates Jews. Do you see? So listen to this. You guys know I like to show you debate stuff. This is an interesting clip for that. All right. Here.
Who would you rather have run our
But what I was saying, it's like sitting next to a woman who you just did the mattress mambo with, and she asks you, if I was burned alive and I had no teeth and hair, would you still love me? What a stupid question. No. The answer is no. No. I wouldn't. I would smother you with a pillow and I'd leave you. But see, that's not really the truth. If my wife was horribly disfigured, I would still stay with her and I would love her and I would protect her and take care of her. That's just the way I would be to my wife. Now, would I be physically attracted to her anymore? I don't fucking know, because I'm not going to play hypothetical. Get my point. This is Nick Fuentes saying, I'm not going to play your stupid game. So here it is.
Who would you rather have run our country right now, your wife or Hitler?
Hitler! Of course. Of course. I don't have a wife, but if I did, she would not be fit to run the country. I could tell you that much. She can run the kitchen. She can't run the lawnmower. I'll put it that way. And I think anyone would. One's in the chat if you'd rather Hitler over your wife. Two's if you prefer your wife. We'll let the fucking numbers do the talking.
Do you see the kid's reaction? The kid's reaction.
Who would you rather have run our country?
Watch him again. The kid's trying to garner a reaction so he can get a soundbite for his TikTok channel of having Nick Fuentes say, well, of course, my wife. I don't want Hitler. Well, he conceded that women should be in power. And if he says Hitler, well, now he's a Nazi. But by Nick Fuentes making a mockery of it, laughing at him and saying, oh, yeah, Hitler, 120%, he's kind of codifying people's belief about him that that he hates Jews and he's anti-Semitic and that he's a white nationalist by making a joke out of it. And it's actually fairly smart. Watch the guy this guy's he's not pissed off that he said Hitler. He's pissed off that he made a joke of it and can't use the clip. Watch the kid.
Who would you rather have run our country right now, your wife or Hitler?
Hitler! Of course. Of course. I don't have a wife, but if I did, she would not be fit to run the country. I could tell you that much. She can run the kitchen. She can't run the lawnmower. I'll put it that way. And I think anyone would. One's in the chat if you'd rather Hitler over your wife. Two's if you prefer your wife.
The whole point of that is that you might go, okay, this guy's a pig. He's horrible. He's sexist. He's completely screwing with this kid. Now, do I believe that Nick Fuentes believes that women have a certain set of abilities and men have a certain set of abilities? Yeah, I believe he believes that. Do I believe he's sexist? Yeah, absolutely. Do I believe he says anti-Semitic things? Absolutely. 120%. But I also think that he can talk about things that are extremely intelligent, and you don't listen to him because of the things that he says that aren't intelligent. I got a video I'm going to show you real quick. And it's about religion. I'm going to find this for us real quick. And it's probably one of the best responses I've heard on religion in a while. Sorry for the delay. I thought I had the clip, and I don't have it. Oh, thank you, Kimberly. You're the best. We appreciate it. Thanks for your patience. Let me find this. Damn it. I hate it when I don't have it. I usually am so good about this. I apologize. I'm trying to remember the kid's name, because that would help. me go to Aiden Ross's page. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. Hey, what is the... I'm drawing a blank. The cloth over Jesus' face when his soul illuminated and went through. The... I don't know why I'm thinking the torrent. It's ridiculous. It's not the torrent. Somebody help me. Come on. Somebody help me. Write it down. Tell me what it is. It's the teaser. Oh my God, I can't. It's ridiculous. And I hate when my mind does this. This is what happens when you get old. Shroud of Turin. Thank you. God. Thank you so much. I'm getting old. What do you want? Okay, here. Let me find this.
The Shroud of Turin to exist, then please
you don't know
why.
the facts.
Then please tell me why.
All right. I want you to listen to this. Because somebody ban Victoria Pfeiffer, please. She's a troll. Get rid of her. Shroud of Turin. I want you to listen to this. And if there's anything that he says that you don't like as far as anti-Semitic, just fucking ignore it. Just listen to him talk about Christianity, and it just demonstrates my points. I promise you Nick Fuentes is not going to be a staple on this show. What I'm saying is that it's very easy for people to hate him based upon what he says, but not listen to what he says. He makes that nearly impossible. Listen, it's just a couple-minute clip.
Wait. So you're telling me that it was absolutely impossible for some impossible for the Shroud of Turin to exist? Then please tell me why.
The facts.
Then please tell me why.
Tell
me why the earliest carbon dating on the Shroud of Turin that we've gotten from the material used to create the Shroud of Turin is like from 1200 AD.
That's not true.
It's either 400
you can fact check that. That's not even true. They just did a new study on it and they proved it's 100% real.
They proved it's 100% real.
It's 100%. It's super real. That's one. Okay. We have secular historians that testify that Jesus was a real person and was crucified.
Yeah, we do.
Josephus, Tacitus. We also have...
Josephus isn't secular. Let's get our facts straight. He was a Jewish
he was
historian.
Jewish. Okay, he was Jewish. I mean non-Christian. Thank you for the clarification. Are we good?
Secular mean non-Christian?
Are we good? You know what I meant. I mean, if you were to say that a Christian source is biased, then arguably a non-Christian source would be unbiased. That's the point. Josephus, Tacitus. But you also have the earliest versions of the gospel stories going back to the 1st century. The earliest fragments of it go back to the 1st century. And you have people that went to their death. That's part of why Christianity spread. They went to their death. The Christians were martyred, testifying that they saw a resurrected Jesus. Liars don't go to their death testifying that something happened if it didn't. Certainly not 11 out of 12 of them, or every single one of them. And that is the basis of how it spread in the ancient world. So there's that. There's the Shroud of Turin. There's non-Christian historians. There's the fragments of the gospel.
Yeah, so
there's the prophecies that are fulfilled by Jesus in the New Testament.
So the Shroud of Turin, that shit just goes straight out the fucking window. We have carbon dated it. Not a piece of it dates back to when Jesus was alive in accordance with Josephus and Tacitus, which you reported.
Carbon dating is flawed. Carbon dating is flawed. And there was that's not true.
It's earlier than it is, but we just don't know it.
And that's not true. Well, one, it's not real because carbon dating says that like dinosaurs are
Then
real.
how do we know that it was from Jesus?
And two, there was a recent study that was done that showed that it literally would not even be possible using the technology at the time to create a forgery. So it had to have been created by something with luminosity that just didn't exist back then for it to imprint throughout the entire shroud. They didn't have that kind of technology back then.
Wait, I have a question.
It's impossible to create it any other way.
Do you mind if I ask you a question here? Okay, so I like this argument. Let's just go ahead and say that you're right. It was impossible to create without some sort of divinity. Jesus Christ is a prophet of the Islamic religion. Can you please give me any reason to believe that Christianity is true more so than Islam being true?
That's just a stupid question.
That this luminosity could be granted, either Islam being true or Christianity being true?
Let me ask you this question. Do you know what Muslims believe about Jesus Christ and the crucifixion? Can you tell me?
Prophet of God. He didn't actually die on the cross. Someone else stepped in his shoes.
Oh, yeah. So what was the Shroud of Turin? Do you know?
Oh, it was over him in the burial.
So So how would we know Islam isn't true? Well, let's see. If he wasn't actually crucified, then how would they lay the shroud over his body and his soul leave to make the imprint? So it doesn't. You don't even know what you're talking about.
I mean, no, you don't know what you're talking about because given the Islamic
religion, to work it out on the
they,
fly, doesn't even know the order of how could
given,
the Muslim Jesus leave the shroud of Turin imprint if he was never crucified?
So here's the thing I'll tell you is I probably listened to 90% of this debate, and most of it was just petulant bullshit from the kid who wants to spit out facts at 147 miles an hour, who looks like he's the poster boy for Adderall. And that was probably the worst that Nick got in the entire thing. Most of the time in the first half of the debate, he was very matter of fact. And the thing about Nick that I will say is that he understands why he believes what he believes. And I don't think he tries to push his beliefs on other people. He refuses to allow other people to discredit what he believes. And for me, that's slightly admirable when it's not coupled with the rest of the shit. Listen, I can't give advice to Nick Fuentes because if he wants to base his popularity and my popularity, he's going to win. If he wants to base my education and versus his education, I think we would have another conversation. If he wants to compare my world experience and his world experience, I guarantee he's going to be found wanting. A lot of the places he talks about, he's never been to. A lot of the experiences in life that he expresses are simply matter of a book or something he's picked up along the way versus truly having experiential learning. But this, for me, was an exercise in listening to somebody who I vehemently disagree with in a lot of different facets and appreciating at least some of the things that he had to say that were articulate and based in fact. And then I listened to the kid, and I can tell you that my my dislike for Nick Fuentes was only surpassed and transferred to the kid who I didn't even want to learn his name, because that is what we had on the show with Kyrie. And now Kyrie is going to each one of my viewers and trying to turn viewers against me. And it's hilarious because all of these viewers are sending me these screenshots and texts of this fucking stalker who cannot be rejected and is so insecure, is making videos about me, trying to talk to somebody who isn't listening to him. I think his last video had 2 views on it. Now, I'm certainly not going to make fun of somebody based upon their views because my videos don't have all the views that I want them to have. And it's a growing process, and I know how hard it is. So I'm not going to insult somebody who's trying to be an entrepreneur and create their own brand. But dude, nobody fucking cares what your opinion of me is. Like nobody. Because you have no basis. And just like Nick Fuentes, you have said some horrendous shit that nobody finds you credible. And that is my message to Nick. I don't like Nick. But I promise you that I can find mutual ground with most people. And if I can't find mutual ground with you, that means you are a complete douchebag. So I have spent the last 3 years hammering Nick Fuentes pretty hard. And tonight, I'm just going to say that even Nick Fuentes can look good against certain people who are so oblivious to their obnoxious, petulant takes that circumvent any comment that was based in fact still doesn't matter because you're annoying as hell. That's all. I know he watches on YouTube. I didn't ban him on YouTube for that reason. Dude, I watched
12 seconds of his video, and I started to laugh. Dude, when he was on, did you hear him? Everything I said, that's fair. You're right. He apologized to everybody. Then what did he do? He went and started talking shit again, and he sends Tuner. Here's the whole thing. I guess he was upset, Tuner, because I said that there were two people in chat who were fighters, semi-pro or amateur fighters, who said that his kicks were and you know, his fighting style was complete bullshit and was just like weak as hell. I didn't say that. I said two people said that. Tuner, I thought you were saying that. It was actually your wife, because I can't read chat that fast. But I do know you. We do talk, and you've been on my show for a long time. So when I heard you say that, I was like, oh, so it was your wife, not you. There was another person in chat who said the same thing, and his name is Will. And you can go back and scroll the text, who also said the same thing, who is Special Forces, is Marine Corps, and is a semi-pro fighter, who also said that the kid's full of shit. So, but even if that wasn't true, nobody cares. Like, there's no dilemma. There is nothing pent up. I don't think about this kid. And everything that I wanted to say to him, I said on the show, and he got shellacked. Dude, you couldn't debate yourself out of the Shroud of Turin. You were horrible. My wife bitch slapped you. Viewers slapped you upside the head. You apologized for being completely sexist and degrading towards women on my show, and I wouldn't even allow you to apologize to me. And still, you go make another video. Listen, man, take your fucking meds. My viewers are going to watch me, or they're not going to watch me. And it's not going to be based on what you say, because they all know I brought receipts and exposed your ass. And I'll do it. And you know what's funny is I haven't even dug real deep. Don't make me embarrass you even more. Okay? Please just don't do it. Okay? I had people calling mercy rule. They're like, dude, as fun as it is to see Matt completely fuck this guy up, it's almost boring. I haven't even started digging, dude. You know my address, and you send your little comments, which I don't give a shit about. But I don't even know who you are. Please don't make me start digging, because, dude, I will expose your ass at a level that you will not be happy with. Just go away. Go find a woman to mentally abuse and just leave us alone. Okay? I listened to his reaction video today. I take it back. Apology not accepted. You went after Tina Savage, dude. Tina Savage is in her name, and she's a cop. Probably stupid. Why don't you walk up to a Wolverine and slap him with your penis and see how that goes? Matt, did you watch his training vid on Facebook? No. I don't fucking care about this kid. I gave him a platform. I treated him with respect. He called me a Jew lover, and I didn't say that. Yes, you did. It's what you're insinuating. Said I was an entertainer and I do everything for show, and this is bullshit. It's just petty jealousy. I don't have time for it. Okay? Maybe when I was 30, I would have gotten to a dick measuring contest. But dude, you called in, and if you could not see my complete just boredom with the conversation, because I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about life. I want to talk about things that actually make an impact. I want to talk about how people can grow from each other and share experiences. I don't want to hear about your overall take on and critique on my program, because who cares? I'm not going to change for you. I'm not going to change the program. I'm not going to apologize to you. Everything I've said to that kid is 100% accurate. He hates women. He uses his theology and his belief to be completely anti-Semitic. He makes anti-Semitic comments. He labeled me as a Jew lover. I don't need to hear this shit. I don't care. And now he's saying that I use people and put them in harm's way, that because what I said put Tuner in harm's way. Why are you threatening Tuner? I mean, that's the problem. You threatened him. You said, Matt puts people in harm's way. Dude, come after me. Don't go after Tuner. I'm the one that embarrassed you. Come after me. But you're not my first stalker. You're not my first person who's threatened me. And I could give two fucks. Good luck. Let me know how it works out for you. Bring your lunch. All right. Michael Garcia says, you're a compensating boy. I don't know what the fuck that means. Do you mean overcompensating? Is that what you mean? If you're going to throw insults, you look like you're Army, so you're probably an ASVAB waiver. No offense. But if I'm overcompensating. I'm overcompensating is I think what you're trying to say. You're an overcompensating boy. You're not. You're a compensating boy. That's not an insult. Try again. Here, do this. Retype it and send it and see if it makes an impact this time. Putting people in harm's way is ironic coming from a Muslim. Oof, that's pretty harsh. He must have blocked, thank God. I'm sure he did. You guys in chat are hilarious. Tuner, Mike, Tina, all you weirdos are making my night. Come visit Louisiana, Kyrie. Thomas Griffiths, you want to chip in on the box of pork I'm going to send him? Oh, come on. Okay, listen to me. That is anti-Semitic, okay? It's not just the Jews that are Semites. You don't need to insult Muslims. I called him the mad Muslim because he's a little off. Not because he's a Muslim. I don't care about his religion. I know plenty of Muslims who are great people. He's just a kid, and he's got an opinion, and he's embarrassed. And instead of saying, you know what, I was stupid, he doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't know how to solve it. Did our compensating boy come back, Michael Garcia? Where did he go? Did he respell it? Did he try here? Army. What, like 74? 75? Maybe Vietnam, M16? Maybe. I don't know. Thanks for your service, dude. Matt, what do you think about the assistance people are getting from the hurricane relief? It's a topic I'd love to hear your views on. I think it's bullshit. I think $750 is ridiculous. We did some number breakdowns of like the 37.5 million in Ukraine divided by the 150 billion came to like 3,700 per person. And if you take the money for the people impacted by this hurricane, which is between 5 and 7 million, even if we take it on the 7 million range, I think the overall money for them comes out to like 5.75 billion at 750. It's an insult. It buys a week of groceries. And it's not like they can go down to the local restaurant. I mean, we had one of our viewers who was trying to get a generator. It's horrible. You know? So I think our government, once again, has failed everybody. Dude, Michael Garcia didn't come back. Oh, well. Let's go find, you know what? We haven't done this in a while. Let's do this. We haven't done this.
Wait, so you're telling me that it was absolutely impossible for some
Let's see if I can find this. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but you know, I feel like he messaged us for a reason. The only problem is there's like 7,700 Michael Garcias in the general vicinity. That's not going to work. Come on, man. Do you think you could have a name that's a little? Could you go by Miguel at least? I'm sure that would make it a lot smaller. Wow, we had a lot of likes tonight. A lot of people on. Holy shit! Great to see so many people on. Hold on a second. I'm going to see if I can find this. Do I think Kamala will drop in the polls over this? I think Kamala's poll numbers are complete shit, just to be honest with you. Oh, I can't find it. Whatever. Dude, you don't deserve it. I'm not going to give it. You didn't even reply back. Whatever. Let's see. How much did we get? Oh, crap, guys. It's 856. 151.54 to goal. We're behind by $49 or so. I think Olivia got them all in. Let me find out. Let me make sure we got them all in. It looks like I think Kimberly Ann gave some Venmo money. Did you get Kimberly Ann in?
Yeah.
From Venmo?
Yes, I did.
We're all caught up and we're short?
Yeah, as of right now.
Okay. Appreciate it. All right. I've got a few more minutes. Love you. All right. Let's go to a couple other things because we did a lot of exposition tonight. Give a quick plug. Once again, thedumshow.com/donate. We are 100% funded by the viewers and we're overcompensating, so we need your help. If you have the ability and can help, please do. We have a goal that we're set for $200 a night. We are $49 away, and we would appreciate if you would help. Laura said, do I think Kamala will drop in the polls? I think anything that's happened up into this week, it's really immaterial. The October surprise that we were expecting against Trump was something we all kind of expected. So no, I don't think Jack Smith releasing there wasn't any there, and it was all hearsay, and it's not sticking. Twitter's already moved on. I think there will be an October surprise for either Tim Walz or Kamala. What happens, I don't know. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But I don't believe the polls. Like a 2% national lead for her is horrible. Folks, I've told you, they underestimated Trump by 5 to 8% in 2016 and 2020. If she only has a 2% lead and he's going to underperform on the polls like he did last time and overperform on voting day, then she's in deep trouble. She's in some serious shit. So no, I do not think necessarily that she's going to drop too much in polls, but I think the polls will tighten where Donald will probably gain a little bit of momentum over this, but I don't think she drops. I think the people who are going to vote for her are going to vote for her. The people who are going to vote for Trump are going to vote for Trump. And that 3%, which is going to be in the toss-up states, those people have already decided. They're just not saying anything. All right, what else we got? Matt, Walz did so bad the other night. Who will be his replacement? Nobody. He'll be on the ticket. You're not going to replace him this late. I mean, there's just no reason. Ed Krasenstein, quick little picture. Donald Trump will go to prison if he doesn't win the election or die first. Nice job, Ed. God, you're a douche. Yeah, don't get discouraged. Vote. Absolutely vote. Vote like crazy. Get out there. Bring your friends. Bring your family. Ron DeSantis, folks.
And Florida State Guard will be deployed.
I just want to tell you, man, and I will say this to any MAGA supporter. What you guys did to Ron DeSantis was fucking bullshit. It was wrong. I think that he had Nikki Haley and him 100% had every right. Thank you, Epsilon. Got to appreciate you, Mel. You're the best. Mel put us over for the night. Thank you, Mel. We love you, kiddo. If somehow we look back and it's November 6th and we're like, Donald Trump's no longer an option for president, we will have to look back and reflect on Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley and ask ourselves the question, why was it okay to break them down to their lowest common denominator and not keep them up? So when they endorsed Donald Trump, that their people followed. If we find that the people who voted in the primary for Haley or DeSantis did not come over to Trump in the end, it's because of the way that Donald Trump treated them. And that's just, and the MAGA people, Laura Loomer and all those fuckers. They went after DeSantis' breast cancer. They said Nikki Haley, she cheated on her husband when he was overseas. Just horrible shit. Horrible shit. Ron DeSantis is the future of this party. This guy fucking runs Florida like a drum. Tight like a drum. It is a well-oiled machine. Eileen, our donation link is right here. It's always the same one. thedumshow.com/donate. All you do is go there. Click on PayPal or Venmo. That's how you do it. It's real simple. Maybe one of our mods can put that in the links for her, please. Or you go to Link Tap Go. It's actually it's a pinned comment up in the comments on Facebook, kiddo. Thank you. Ron DeSantis, dude, this guy runs Florida like just consider what Ron DeSantis has done. He went after Disney, fought Disney, won,
went ahead and wrote specific rules against DEI and alternative replacement 1619 project theory and CRT. He sent illegals into Martha's Vineyard and got the conversation started. This guy turned 28 out of 29 districts in Florida red. First time ever that's happened for Republicans. Ron DeSantis was a hell of a candidate. And honestly, I think if we look back, it's going to be this. It's not going to be anything Trump said or did. I just hope that in the next 30 days that DeSantis and Haley can get out there for Trump, because he's got a lot against him and he makes enemies that he doesn't need. He makes unforced errors. He needs to stop doing that. But I still think he has a very good chance at this. I think people want a change agent. They want somebody tough. They want someone disciplined. That's not Kamala Harris. She and Biden are responsible for where we're at. And this is a change agent election, and that is Donald Trump. They know what they're going to get. It's very reminiscent of where we could have been with Obama, but weren't. Obama didn't leave us in that bad of shape when it came to economy, but completely just broken from the military and from a global presence. Yeah, but he shouldn't have waited because he was tapped. There were way too many people who were not going to vote for Trump. There were too many legal cases against Trump. The RNC went to DeSantis. He has every right. Nobody should wait during a primary. I'm sorry. That is completely against the way our system of government works. Donald Trump wasn't the de facto Republican nominee. He wasn't the president. So everyone should run against him, and he should have to go through it again. Yes, because that's what we do every 4 years, is we put the best person forward. I don't think DeSantis should have waited. I don't think Nikki Haley should have waited. I don't think Chris Christie should have waited. I think Chris Christie's dog shit. I don't think Vivek Ramaswamy should have waited. I don't think Burgum should have waited. I think all of them should have absolutely qualified that Trump was ready to run, and he did, and Trump rose to the top. But the point is you didn't need to destroy Ron DeSantis and insult him. You didn't need to talk about him wearing high heels on the back of a podium. You didn't need to call him DeSanctimonious. You didn't need to call Nikki Haley bird brain. You didn't need to encourage the comments about her cheating on her husband. These things aren't needed. These are Republicans. These are people who are going to be running the party when Donald Trump either A, runs from 24 to 28 and then ultimately never runs again, or November 6th, and he'll never run again. I just would not try to destroy somebody because they're running against you. I just disagree with it. And it's going to hurt him. It's going to hurt him. We know it's going to hurt him. We've seen the polls. Donald Trump should be running away with this fucking thing. He's not. So it's going to be a tight race. Like I told you 2 years ago, like I told you 3 years ago, 4 years ago, by the time we hit October, what did I say? It was going to be 2 to 3 points. What's it at? 2 to 3 points. I told you. But I also told you that 2 to 3 points isn't enough nationally. This looks very good for Donald Trump right now. She's not very popular. The swing states are very much, he's in play in all of them. He's within 1 to 2 points, which means that he's probably 3 or 4 points up because he always undervalues his vote versus phone calls. And he has the shadow vote, especially. Shadow vote wasn't too huge in 2020, but it was big in 16. It's going to be big in 24. Okay? So let's just see what happens. I would love if Vivek would run for governor of Ohio. I think Vivek needs to, he's humbled out a lot, which is good. He's been very impressive the last 2.5 months. I've been very impressed. I did not like Vivek, and I don't like big pharma. And I don't like people who grease the wheels and make money off of nefarious means. And let's face it, he was horrible to Trump in his book, and he said some horrible shit. So did J.D. Vance. But let's face it, so did everybody. I just want people to stop destroying Republican possibilities for president. Governor Glenn Youngkin is probably going to be on the ticket in 2028. And if we can't rally around him unified, every single person, this is the dumbest thing in the world, because he is probably one of the most moderate Republican conservatives I've ever seen. He is a moderate conservative, which is insane to say that. But socially, he's moderate and he's conservative fiscally. And he is an amazing governor. We love him here. We don't want him to go, but he's going to, because he can only run for 4 years here consecutively. So he can come back. If he doesn't win, he can run in 2032. But in 2028, he's probably going to run for president. So I don't imagine him sitting for 24 to 2028. I think he starts campaigning in 2026. And we start hearing it. He starts buying poll stations, and he starts getting captain offices, and he starts, ensuring that he's going to be the nominee. And he should be, because he's very qualified. And I could see DeSantis being a great VP for him. I could see Nikki Haley being a great VP for him. I could see J.D. Vance being a great VP. I don't think J.D. Vance takes the 2028 ticket. When you see Glenn Youngkin, you'll understand what I'm saying, okay? Youngkin DeSantis is possible. It's a good ticket. Youngkin Haley would be an unstoppable ticket, because she's going to come with 20% of the vote right away. The moment she steps on the platform, he gets 20% of the vote nationwide. Because Nikki Haley was very popular in the Republican Party primaries. She took 21% of Texas, like I told you she would. Nikki Haley should be on the ticket, even over J.D. Vance, and this thing wouldn't even be close. It'd be over, because Kamala never would have been installed, because she would have been the woman. They would have run on the woman ticket minority on the Republican side. So they wouldn't put Kamala, because it wouldn't have an effect. It would counteract each other. And let's face it, Nikki Haley would just fucking blow Kamala Harris away in every facet. So I will still hold to it. I've been saying it for 4 years. Nikki Haley should be the VP. And this wouldn't even be close. This race would be over. She would absolutely 100%. Donald Trump would take 40 to 42 states. Very, very possible. New Hampshire would fall. Absolutely. Virginia would fall. 100%. Pennsylvania, 100%. You might even get New York. Nikki Haley's very popular, folks. Whether you like her or not doesn't matter. The point is she brings in votes, and that was my argument the whole time. And I'm going to wind up being right on it. If Donald Trump wins, it's going to be neat. It's going to be neat. Just like 16, just like 20, and just like 2024 will be, it's going to be close. If he had Nikki Haley on the ticket, it would be a landslide. Just a fucking landslide. Debbie says, I trust no politicians. Good for you. That's smart. I've got way too many decades of seeing what these people really are. They are weak, and they see dollars and are immune from common sense after that. I agree with you. But I will say that DeSantis is a different breed. Youngkin is a different breed. And you know what? Nikki Haley's a different breed, because she's not a neocon. She's not a warmonger. Thank you, Frankie. Appreciate you, buddy. She's not a warmonger. She's been a governor, and she's been a UN ambassador. Both of those positions don't declare war. Okay? She said some stupid shit about the cartels, and she didn't want to waste money with Ukraine. This was all Donald Trump. Donald Trump said to hate her. Everyone hated her. And that's just the way it was. That's what politics is all about. You love DeSantis, y'all. You all wanted him on ticket as vice president a year ago. And then Donald Trump told you to hate him, and everyone hated him. That's just the way this works. And honestly, I love Donald Trump. I want Donald Trump in office. I absolutely believe in pretty much everything he pushes forward, including tariffs, which go against my normal process of thinking. But let me tell you, I'm not going to miss the blind loyalty that people have for him. I'm just not. Eric Erickson is like the extreme. You've got people on one side like Charlie Kirk, who is so loyal to a fucking fault to Donald Trump, will do anything he says. You got me, I'm kind of in the middle. I love Trump, I love what he does, but there's sometimes he really ticks me off. And then you got Eric Erickson, who's a never Trumper who fucking hates him and literally has Trump derangement syndrome and lost me as a conservative. Eric Erickson doesn't know what the hell he thinks anymore. One minute he's bashing Trump, the next minute he's propping him up. One minute he's after the media, the next minute he's propping him up. And I can't even follow Eric Erickson. Vicky, you love him, you know him. Tell me I'm wrong that Eric Erickson literally, you can't even follow what he thinks anymore. Am I wrong? It does not need to be polarized. You can like Vivek and Haley both. Sure you can. Nothing wrong with that. The only reason why Vivek doesn't like Nikki Haley is because where she's from, in India. They have history, and Vivek. It just listen. There's a history there. I can stand Erickson. I think he's very, very smart. Eric Erickson's a very smart dude, but he's got TDS up the ass. Like, he is just a Bush neocon, and I'm just like, dude, you need to advance. You know, it's like he was bashing Reagan today, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? I really like Eric Erickson. I think he's a smart guy, but damn, man, I can't. I just finally told him, I said, bro, we're 37 days from the election. You need to shit or get off the pot. Yeah, dude, you're losing the plot here, brother. Michael Gillespie says, I don't care who it is as long as it's America first. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm 100% with you, dude. I want America first too. I don't want America first where we literally, like let the entire world go to shit and we gotta pull World War II Part 4 or World War II Part 2. But yeah, I'm with you. This is about an hour from me. I have lots of friends there, Loretta says. All right, everybody. Well, we had a lot of people on. Let's listen to DeSantis and then we'll wrap it up.
The critical ports affected to maintain order and, if possible, resume operations, which would otherwise be shut down during this interruption. Florida Department of Transportation is coordinating calls with seaport rail and trucking partners to ensure that all are prepared and positioned appropriately to limit disruptions to the supply chain and other areas should this continue. I'm also directing Florida Department of Transportation to temporarily waive the collection of tolls and other fees for commercial vehicles using public highways in Florida and waiving the size and weight restrictions normally governing vehicle transportation for the duration
Holy
of this
crap.
emergency. This will help
Eileen, thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. That's a huge donation. Thank you. Everybody tonight, thank you so much.
expedite the movement of goods that have been impacted from seaports to intermodal logistics centers, distribution centers, and delivery points, and very well may help offset additional costs incurred by operation during this period. Finally, I'm directing the Florida Highway Patrol to manage the flow of traffic from all Florida seaports and adjacent roads and highways as needed to further expedite the flow of goods that are currently being held up. This will include the provision of law enforcement escorts for commercial motor vehicles by FHP officers upon request. And I would say that this is something that would have significant impacts on the nation's economy anyways, but to have this happen in a way that could negatively impact people that are reeling from a category.
So real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt DeSantis. This is he's just on top of it. They offered him assistance and he's like, send it to North Carolina. Judy Booth Richter, this is a complete lie. Haley allowed sale of South Carolina acreage. Hold on a second. And I'm not saying you're a liar, Judy. You've been fooled. At even the county level to China, end of story. It's not the end of the story because your story is 100% false. It's fictitious. Now, there's a couple things you need to know. In no way, shape, or form did she sign any legislation or make any personal sales of land in South Carolina that hit her governor's desk because that's out of her jurisdiction. She doesn't have controls of counties. That would be the city council, and that would be the district representatives in that area who could approve any foreign sales, but that would have to be voted on as a piece of legislation. There's a lot of loopholes for that, especially with a foreign government coming in, and their authority doesn't actually fall at the legislation level and city and district level. It's actually state legislator, but it doesn't hit the governor's desk. The second thing is she has been absolutely outspoken on China. She has been a stalwart against China, and she spoke not even positively about China in any way, shape, or form. In fact, she said she wanted to go ahead and support Taiwan. The whole growing sentiment that China has been investing in lands has been happening on properties all up and down the East Coast and West Coast, and predominantly in Texas and the harbor areas, because China has been doing that like Japan did it in 1990, 2000 during the technology boom. 100% agree with you that these lands should not be sold, but a lot of this is federal land. When you talk about county land being sold, she doesn't have authorization to do that. So what you're saying is not true. I hope that helps you. And now you can go ahead and hopefully move on. And now that you know that something's been said that's not true, you need to dig into what else is not true. And maybe what you might find is you might actually like Nikki Haley because the things that you have heard are misinformation or inaccurate. Okay? That's what we try to do on this show, is bring the truth. And I just want to let you know that it's not true. Okay? Let's listen to the rest. Thanks.
Category 4 hurricane. That is just
and usually
simply
what I hear after that is, I just don't like her. That's fine. You don't have to like her. I don't like people sometimes, but voting for them is immaterial whether I like them or not, because they're not my buddy. They're not my wife. They're not my high school prom date. They are there to ensure that my interests are reflected sitting at the federal level. That's their job. Cool?
unacceptable. So it really is incumbent upon the Biden-Harris administration to do everything in their power to ensure that these goods are where we need to be, that people are not left hanging out in the cold waiting for these goods. If they're sitting in the ocean somewhere and they're not being able to be used here in the state of Florida or in Georgia or North Carolina, or where people are going to desperately need this, we need to accelerate. We have no time for delays. Biden-Harris has a responsibility to stand up for the storm victims, stand up for the people who've had their homes damaged or who've lost their homes, and make sure they have what they need to get back on their feet.
All right, let's give you an update on the shoremen, because I know a lot of people are worried about that and want to know. It's a tentative agreement for 62% over 6 years. So essentially a 10% raise over every year for the next 6 years. That will be until January, until they can finalize a formal agreement on the automation stance that they take place, where they want 100% no automation. And I want to be clear, is some automation is a good thing because it allows other people to learn different jobs and different roles. 100% automation should be 100% something that we do not do. We need humans working, okay? Just like we don't need a full robotic army. We need human beings. We need deductive reasoning. We need logical conclusions. We need skill sets. And ultimately, we need people spending money. Robots don't spend money. So I am with them on the automation. And honestly, a 10% raise over 6 years is not that bad. Now, most people get a 3 to 5% raise every year, but these guys are doing labor that nobody else wants to do. They're throwing freight. It is a high risk. There is a lot of injury. A lot of these people do not see a full 20-year retirement. So, they kind of got to get their money when they do. So I don't like unions. In fact, I fucking hate unions. I think they're the most worthless thing, and I think they should be banned. They're not. The fact that these guys went to the table and did a 2-day strike, fine. Now they're going to have to work their asses off. They put them back on the docket. They get a 10% raise every year for 6 years. And that's going to keep up, honestly, with inflation. It doesn't even address inflation. Inflation now compounded is 23.7% over the last 18 months. So they're still in the same boat. My problem is that you can't hold America hostage. And that's what unions do. It's what teachers do. It's what the coal miners do. It's what the aviation and the FAA type guys do. And the air traffic controllers do. And it's getting tiresome, Either make everything unionized or absolve them all, because this shit is ridiculous. Okay? That's my opinion. Strike is over. They got 10% raise. I think it's fine. I hate unions. I can't stand them. But you know what? If you're going to do it, this is the way to do it. Go on a strike, let people feel the sting, and then solve it. And they did. It was 2 days. Good. Get back to work now. And this is an acceptable number. 62%, 10% raise over 6 years. That's fine. It'll barely keep up with the inflation. If Donald Trump doesn't get in office and it's Kamala Harris, we're going to have 60% inflation combined anyway, so it's not going to fucking matter. And we're going to hit 50 trillion in the first 2.5 years, and once we hit 50 trillion, America's over. Deborah says I get a 1.3% raise. Deborah, I just said 3 to 5% on average. If you get a 5-star rating, highest rating in your eval, a 5.0, it's anywhere from 3 to 5%. That's average. I understand there's some places that only give you a quarter. I understand it. I'm just trying to tell you on average. This union boss makes $900K per year. I know. I saw his house. I saw his yacht. The guy's a prick. He's a prick. Completely. But 2 days. Tentative agreement. We'll see what happens after that. All right, everybody, listen, thank you so much for taking care of the Don't Unfriend Me show. We love you guys. We appreciate you. We're going to be back tomorrow for Red Friday. Be on with some red. You can go to thedumshow.com and you can pick up your Red Friday gear. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? You can also pick up coffee. We have sold 53 bags of coffee this week. My gosh, I love it. This is actually made by let me try that again. This is made by my buddy Matt Hawley. We have the FJB roast, which has a slight hint of honey and caramel. It is delicious. It's not some flavored foo-foo shit. We've got the Napalm in the morning, the NITM. We have the Tomahawk. We have the Moab. And we have Kami, which is decaf. Kami, because you're a communist if you drink decaf. This stuff is not weak shit. You put it in a French press, it's going to knock your socks off. You'll be up all day. You go ahead and put 1 or 2 scoops in your coffee maker. Makes yourself 1, 2, 3 cups. It's absolutely fine. It's very rich, aromatic. You open up the bag, the whole house is going to smell like coffee. He roasts it right before he ships to you. It does not sit on a shelf. It is roasted, bagged, tagged, and sent out. He will start cutting bags. He's back today. So he's got a lot of work to do for us. So if you have not gone over there, do that. Pick yourself up a nice bag of coffee, pick up a shirt, pick up a hat. All of our stuff. We are 5-star rated. We are one of the highest rated stores on the internet when it comes to customer satisfaction. Scroll down to the bottom if you don't believe me and read it. We now have 200 reviews at 5 stars. Christine gave me a 4-star because she said the red wasn't bright enough on the shirt. And then I said, what? And she's like, no, I think it's just my personal preference. Do you want me to change it to 5? Yes, I do. I can't stand a 4-star, that blemish. We're one of the most highest rated stores. We have the high quality product. Our stuff is all printed in the United States. It's fast, it's quick, it's comfortable, and it lasts forever. Thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Olivia's back, Leroy's tomorrow, and I will be on for Friday. We will have a recorded show in the morning. And we'll have some news later in the day. Thanks for watching us. Please do me a favor. You see Wimkin.com down in the corner. Go over to Wimkin. Remember this, Wimkin is a social media platform like Facebook and like Twitter, yet it's 100% free speech. You can say whatever you want. You will not be banned. What that also comes with is that Comcast, Google, Yahoo, they are all suppressing the emails. So when you sign up, pick a profile picture, put your email in, put your password in, write it down. Fill out your whole profile, hit send. In 24 hours, Jason will approve it. And the reason he has you do that with a profile picture is because he doesn't accept bots. It ensures that you're talking to a real person and you're not going to get scammed on his platform. If that doesn't work, reach out to me and I'll make sure you get taken care of. Go over to Wimkin.com. Thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show, and we will see you tomorrow. Quick commercial for Wimkin, and then we are out of here. What is going on, Don't Unfriend Me Nation? Matthew Spear from the Don't Unfriend Me show. I want to talk to you about Wimkin.com. Now, Jason Shepard and the Wimkin team came into my life about 1.5 years ago. They were saying that it's not a Twitter knockoff, that it's just like Facebook, it's fully encrypted, completely safe, and your privacy is paramount. You can live stream, it's 100% made in the USA. And I took a little time, not going to lie. I wanted to make sure that this was the right company, and it took me a little bit to research and take part in the network, and I will tell you that I am 100% right behind Wimkin. Jason Shepard has created an amazing network where people who are sick and tired of being censored and pushed around by big tech, this doesn't happen on Wimkin. He protects your privacy, and he's willing to stand up to the government and anyone who tries to get it. He's already done it once. It doesn't make him very popular, and that's why he needs shows like us and people like you to support him, to get behind him, and to ensure that the most important thing that we all possess is the right to freedom of speech and to share our voices across this great country. Join Wimkin over at Wimkin.com today.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.